So, have any of you guys ever had a dream where you felt like you were out of your own body and it was like an out of body experience? I heard that there's ways to and courses to take for actual astral projection and leaving your body and going into this other dimension and this other realm. Actually, honestly, I am really interested in this topic. That's why I'm making this video. I've made a similar video in the past before, but I'm not sure if I really have the balls to do it. I mean, after watching the movie Insidious, I guess it just deters a lot of people from trying it out, right? So, what are your experiences and comments? Put in the comments below. Let's grab a blanket, turn off your lights for these out of body experiences, ghost and horror stories.
I've always wondered if anyone else has experienced this. I don't remember ever telling anyone about this happening. I feel like it wasn't a bad thing or harmful at all. Although from what I remember, it is the most amazing feeling I've ever felt. I felt it about 4 times since being in college. I'm a junior. And possibly a lot more while I was growing up. Basically, when I fall asleep at night, about 11 or 12, I will suddenly be awake. But not to the full extent. I will be aware that I'm awake, but I can't and don't want to open my eyes. Not because I'm scared, just because I'm so tired. It'll start with my breathing being incredibly relaxing. Then slowly this tingly sensation will build up all over my body. The best way I can explain this is how it feels when your foot falls asleep. But it isn't annoying or irritable, it feels good. It'll consume my whole body to the point where I feel a sort of high, and I swear my body will soon lift up off the bed. It almost feels like a guilty pleasure, feeling as though I'm not supposed to be doing this. Before long, about a minute or so, it's completely gone, and I wake up fully and open my eyes. I can recall the last 2 times it was happening. It ended so quickly, because I forced myself to come back, if that makes sense. In other words, the closer I got to feeling my body become lighter and lighter, I would get so nervous and uneasy that I snap out of it quickly, which is when I'm able to wake up. It's usually around 2, 3, or 4 a.m. This is all uncomfortable. I can't recall being forced by something or forcing myself to do anything. This might seem really dumb, but it's true, and I love when it happens. There's one thing I do know 100%. It's definitely not a dream. I've tried looking this up on Google, and some of the things I found is that this is the start of an out-of-body experience. Something pulled me out of my body while I was sleeping. Need help. Hey guys, first of all, English is my second language, so I apologize for possible mistakes. The reason I'm looking for help is because of what has happened to me today. I'll try my best to describe it, and feel free to ask me anything. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of out-of-body experiences, but it was more than simply leaving my body. In fact, it started by opening my eyes and seeing some kind of white flash. After that, I felt something grabbing my hands real tight, and I'm not sure why, but I accepted it, and also grabbed them as well. All while I was still lying in bed. They felt like human hands. What was weird was it only grabbed me with 2 fingers, and so did I. I don't know what they are called in English, the ones you do the peace sign with. After that I got scared, because even though it wasn't my first experience with paranormal stuff, it was the first time something actually touched me. I told it to go away, that it is free and able to go and stuff. I was so scared that I made up something to somehow get free. It first released one hand, and shortly after that, my other one. I woke up paralyzed. I felt myself moving, but my body didn't move. I'm sure my soul did. It was gone after a little while, like in sleep paralysis. I'm not sure if it is important, but it was in the middle of the day, not at night. But there's more. After I woke up, I decided to go back to sleep again, because all of that happened right after I fell asleep, so I slept only for half an hour. It happened again. I felt something grabbing my hands real tight and pulling me out of my body violently. It was all black. I didn't see a thing. Shortly after, I realized what had just happened. I found myself standing on my bed. I had an out-of-body experience. So I played around, like going through walls, flying around and stuff. Shortly after, I just flew up and woke up in my bed. I wanted to try it again and waited for it grabbing my hands again after going to bed. I kind of felt the two fingers grabbing mine, but somehow it didn't work and I fell asleep normally. After waking up a few hours ago, I just couldn't stop thinking about what happened. I mean, something grabbed my hands really tight, almost to the point it hurts, and pulled me out of my body. I'm thinking of calling for it when I'm going to bed, like expecting something to grab my fingers. I just want to know if I should be worried, or if anyone knows what the hell pulled me out of my body. Of course, it could have just been a dream, but I'm really scared if not. And it felt so real. I'm really sorry for my grammar, and this is the first time I ever posted something on here, or anywhere else on the internet, so you can't imagine how important this is to me. So forgive my mistakes, and I'm hoping for help or at least some ideas what the thing grabbing me could have been. Now, just to be clear, I didn't see anything till I realized I was out of my body, but I felt it pulling me out, and I knew the feeling of leaving my body because I already had a few out-of-body experiences. That said, I hope someone knows what's going on. Also, I'm German. Some kind of update. While I was reading your comments and doing some research, I was trying to remember as much as possible, and there are a few details I would like to share. Not sure if they are important, but maybe it will help. 1. I remember hearing a strange noise in my ear. Like something breathing? Not sure, but that would increase the possibility of sleep paralysis, since you usually hear strange noises. 2. One other thing that actually really freaked me out was when I was holding its hands or fingers. I wanted to kiss its hand. I know, this whole thing sounds so stupid and ridiculous. Why would I want to do that? But in reality, I, for some reason, really had the urge to kiss its hand. I went in for the kiss, but turned my head away and didn't do it. After that, I told it to go, like I described in the text above. Don't ask me why I would do that. I'm not even sure myself. And it all felt like it was completely dark and I didn't see anything. But somehow I remember my face doing a kissing face. Was it maybe just a really weird dream? But why did it come back the second time and actually pull me out even though I told it to go away? Questions over questions. I'm really confused and maybe I am overreacting. But I can get very paranoid even though I'm somehow able to remain calm when it gets serious. 3. I can't really remember, but I'm sure I talked it through my mind, so I didn't really speak out loud. 4. I should also tell you guys that it did make a sound. Maybe it caused a breathing kind of sound, but it didn't answer me at all in words. I also didn't see it, so I have no idea what it was or what I was dealing with. Sleep paralysis to astral projection and strange behavior. Hello, I am new to Reddit, and I hope I'm in the right sub to share my events. I am a 24-year-old male, but the events occurred about 3 years ago. I was working full-time on night shift, and my sleep schedule was kind of messed up at that time. This could explain why I had sleep paralysis. I am now well aware of what sleep paralysis is, but 3 years ago I thought it was some pretty bad night terrors. I've had dozens of experiences in the span of about 5 months, and then it stopped. Probably because I quit my job and found a day shift job. Assuming everyone knows what sleep paralysis is, I will skip some details. but I've had all of them. The intense fear, being unable to move a single muscle while a dark creature or shadow stares at you and gets closer to you or climbs on you and gives you the feeling of suffocating. Normally, I would struggle to move and try to yell to finally wake up after a few minutes, but even after a couple experiences, it was very hard for me to try to calm down and relax while it was happening. So far, nothing too paranormal, you would think. But here's what happened in one of my last sleep paralysis experiences. It was about 6 p.m. That's my deep sleeping time since I work night shift, and it was dark outside because it was winter time. As usual, it began with a dark entity in the corner of my room getting closer to me. I knew what I was dealing with, and I was tired of it. I was very frightened, but also very angry. I wanted it to stop for good, so with all of my power, I tried to move my body and yelled as loud as I could, even if no sound would come out, but I could feel my throat hurting from the efforts of my attempt. Then, all of a sudden, instead of waking up from it, I flew right up to the ceiling of my room. The dark entity disappeared. The room was brighter and it looked like it was sunny outside, because there was light coming from the window. I was floating in my room above my bed, and I started to feel very relieved. I had a very deep feeling of well-being, and for some reason I also felt very horny. I will give you a little bit more information before continuing to the next part. I lived in an apartment with a female roommate. She's my best friend, and we've never had sexual intercourse before, but maybe I wouldn't have objected to it. At the time of the events, I believe she was not in the apartment, so back to my floating state in my bedroom. I could hear the television on in the living room, so I assumed my roommate was there watching it. I flew right through my wall and into my living room, and I saw her, sitting on the couch. I then began sexual intercourse with her, and she was very receptive. After that, I went in her room and started looking through her stuff in the drawers. I don't know why, but I remember seeing some cream tubes and girl stuff. Everything in my apartment looked so real, like I was not dreaming. But then, I decided to leave the apartment and fly outside to visit my neighborhood. But it didn't look familiar at all. Houses were wavy, and there were all sorts of color patterns. From there on, my memories are fading, but I'm pretty sure I returned to my room and finally woke up. After waking up, I thought this was just some weird dream, and I fell asleep again. The day after, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It seemed so real. So I went in my roommate's bedroom while she was away, and I looked through her stuff in the drawers, and the thing I found in there was exactly what I had seen in my dream the day before. Now that I think of it, could it be an astral projection? What does this all mean? Now, by the way, I'm not some crazy pervert, and I've never told my roommate about this, and she's not aware of anything. I don't live there anymore, and she's not my roommate anymore. Out-of-body experience. I've had a few paranormal experiences in my life. The crazy experience was an out-of-body experience I had when a freshman in high school. This story is absolutely true, and I know it wasn't a dream. It was just as real as right now, and I was fully conscious. I apologize, but this is going to be a bit long. It happened Christmas Eve in the year 2000. Like I said, I was a freshman in high school. I was super excited about Christmas morning and looking forward to opening my presents. I have heard that sometimes emotional stress can trigger an OBE, and maybe this is the reason for it. I lay awake for a long time on the couch in the living room until I finally went to sleep. I remember dreaming about being in an air shaft and the room of the shaft falling down and slowly crushing me. As the roof got lower and lower, I got more and more frightened until the moment I was about to be crushed to death. I woke up in my dream and then exited it. I knew about lucid dreams and don't believe this was one. I have heard people say that when we dream, our spirit leaves our bodies. Well, when I awoke from my dream, I was floating in the loft of our barn. At this point, I was totally conscious and awake. It was just as real as normal waking reality, except I could fly, go through walls, and see through them if I wanted to. Anyways, like I said, I awoke to find myself floating in my barn. My body seemed to be just like a ghost, and I flew through the barn wall into our yard. I looked up and saw the stars in the sky, but they looked weird. I can't quite recall what they did exactly, but they were shifting and moving perhaps in a circle, like one of those time-lapse pictures you see. Other than that, as I looked around, I saw our yard in vivid detail, exactly as it was on any other night. In a dream, I have never had this level of detail and clarity. It was exactly like I was there and completely like normal, except for the stars. So I was flying around in circles, going higher and higher. It was an amazing feeling, impossible to explain how wonderful it felt. It was simply euphoric. After a while, I felt like I needed to go back to my body, so I flew back into it and left again to fly around some more. Then I felt like I needed to go back again, so I went back into it and lay into my body. I was totally paralyzed and could not move my body, but still fully awake. I sensed an evil presence in the kitchen and turned my spirit's body, gazed that way, and could see through the wall. There was a single point of floating light there, and it felt really evil. It freaked me out, and I was totally paralyzed. I tried my hardest to move my body, but I couldn't. After a few moments, I was able to fully integrate into my body and transition back into the normal world. The thing that really convinces me, though, is that after I woke up from my dream and being conscious floating in my barn, there was no break of consciousness from where I was in the spirit to time when I was in the normal world. Some people may think I'm crazy for making this up, but it happened to me, and I know it wasn't a dream. It was way too real. After this, I read all I could about OBE and astral projection. I tried to induce one through meditation, but was never successful. I could get right to the edge when you feel you're about to leave your body, but then my heart would start to race, and I would get freaked out, and after that it was no use. I have never had another OBE since. There is a staggering number of people who have experienced near-death experiences, OBE, and such phenomenon that I think a rational person would conclude that these are genuine experiences. There are even OBE recorded in the Bible. Paul talks about one, and I believe that John from Revelation also does. What do they mean, I guess, is up to you. To me, it means we have a soul and can survive death, and perhaps they are even responsible for some ghostly apparitions. I don't share this for myself. I just want other people to believe that there is more to reality than what current science can explain.